The engine had finally arrived. She was a small mixed traffic engine. Back in her prime, she was a beauty. Now, she was a shell of her former glory. If you had looked at her, you wouldn't have noticed the soot or other signs of weathering unless you looked at her buffer beams and fading BR crest. Very soon, the miners learned everything about her. She was snobbish, cold, ill-mannered, and vulgar. She didn't believe she deserved this cruel punishment, this horrid treatment for an engine with such high class. The mines were full of coal, giving her what seemed to be an unlimited buffet of dirty, low-grade coal, an equally endless supply of murky water from the stream nearby. Her anger grew with each passing day, taking her anger out on the wagons, occasionally derailing them, causing them to spill their loads or suffer damage, or both. She hadn't lost her mind yet, for she was able to speak in full coherent sentences, many of which had the same story, with the same character, with the same conflict, with the same sister. How could a railway take him over her? Why a failed engine? One that seemed to cheat a rightful death 3 times now, if repairs were possible. No longer did she have that same power she had. She no longer had that captivating and alluring tone in her voice, one that helped her win over some of the more naive engines. Nobody took notice of her anymore. A few workmen, and even her crew, tried to befriend her, but they all threw in the towel very quickly. A few months later, the mines closed. The workplace was horrid, the rolling stock and machinery were poorly maintained, and the low-grade coal was all to offer. Whatever was left of the rolling stock was either scrapped or sold. The engine had hoped she'd be sold to a more luxurious lifestyle, but her hopes were shattered. With her parts weakened, she couldn't apply her brakes and fight her driver's control. All she could do was curse loudly at the workmen, swearing that one day they would all pay. The men placed wooden blocks under her wheels, trapping her inside the filthy mineshaft. Then they went to work, boarding up the entrance, allowing little light to enter. The silence was deafening every day she was awake. Spiders would dance happily all over her. Mice explored and played hide-and-seek around her wheels. She grew accustomed to the taste of dust whenever she breathed. She grew accustomed to the smell of dead mice and the natural aroma of dusty rocks and molding wood. Every day she stared ahead, mumbling death threats and revenge. While the outside world continued, she was stuck in a never-ending cycle. Everyone who wronged her or simply got in her way would pay the consequences with their lives. One individual on her list was Patrick. Whether scrapped or in service, he would get the worst of it. Decades later, she would have that chance. Over the years, the wooden supports grew more and more older. No one heard her scream to the top of her non-existent lungs. She was now free.